Let's take you to this live story now. The Institute for African Alternatives hosting a colloquium in Cape Town. We do understand the Chief Justice is on the podium.
In defense of constitutional democracy, Parliament as the cornerstone of public participation. I applaud the Institute for this decision because it seems to me that there could not have been a more appropriate time for a project such as this. Indeed, the Institute is one of a number of organizations that resolved either before the handover of the last parts of the report of the Commission or after that the country and its people had invested too much in the Commission and its work for its report and the recommendations to be allowed to be ignored, and that they would make it their business to do something to make sure that its recommendations were implemented. I accept that that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody agrees with every recommendation that was made by the Commission. Indeed, I'm aware that there are divergent views on various recommendations. But I think what is very important is for me to acknowledge the positive manner in which the majority of people of this country embraced the work of the Commission and its recommendations, generally speaking. There are a number of organizations who wrote to me after I'd handed over the last report to the President, saying that they wanted to do something to make sure that the work of the Commission did not go to waste. Of course, the Institute has decided to focus on the 16 recommendations that the Commission made concerning Parliament. I think it is quite appropriate for an organization of the size of this institute to decide where its focus would be out of the many recommendations of the Commission. And it seems to me that focusing on the recommendations that relate to Parliament is quite critical. In this regard, I want to refer to Section 42, subsection 3 of our Constitution, which has this following to say about the National Assembly. And I quote, "The National Assembly is elected to represent the people and to ensure government by the people under the Constitution. It does this by choosing the President, by providing a national forum for public consideration of issues, by passing legislation, and by scrutinizing and overseeing executive action." And that section is quite clear. The National Assembly is elected to represent the people and to ensure government by the people under the Constitution. I said this reflects the importance of Parliament, of the National Assembly. But it also relates to the point that the former president made in his speech. On the issue of the conflict of loyalty that some members of Parliament may feel from time to time and may have certainly felt during the times when opposition parties called for public inquiries into allegations of state capture and corruption, and the majority of members of Parliament rejected those calls. It is a very critical issue. And Section 42(3) is consistent with Section 48 of the Constitution. And that is the section which provides that before a member of the National Assembly may commence their duties or functions, they must swear or affirm faithfulness to the Republic and obedience to the Constitution in accordance with Schedule 2. That too is a point which the former president touched on. So the drafters of the Constitution thought that what was required of members of the National Assembly before they could start their functions was for them to swear or affirm faithfulness to the Republic, not to a political party, to the Republic. And as I said, Section 42(3) says the National Assembly represents the people. Of course, what I have just said is not to be understood to mean that the fact that members of Parliament get to Parliament via their political parties is irrelevant, because it is not. But that is why I believe the former president was saying this is an issue that needs to be addressed, particularly where the constitutions of some political parties might not acknowledge these provisions of the Constitution.
And this is Chief Justice Raymond Zondo speaking at the Institute for African Alternatives Colloquium tonight. And he is, of course, talking about the role of Parliament. And remember, this is a subject he also touched on extensively in his Zondo Commission's reports. And, of course, looking at the work of Parliament, and also has been talking about, very little progress that he says has been done when it comes to implementing some of the recommendations of the state capture reports. So certainly Bulelani is watching that for us and will bring us a wrap of what has happened there. But also remember, earlier on at that colloquium, former President Kgalema Motlanthe also speaking there. So we are watching this and also streaming it on our YouTube page.